Chapter 8, Living Openly. In the dimly lit cave, Marcus and Euryale hunched over a makeshift table, their minds racing with strategies and plans. The air was thick with tension and the scent of the sea, the sound of waves crashing against the shore a steady rhythm that echoed their determined heartbeats. They knew that for Euryale to blend into society, they needed a foolproof plan, one that would allow her to experience the world without drawing unwanted attention. "We need a cover story," Marcus said, his fingers tracing the grain of the wooden table. "Something that explains your appearance without raising suspicion." Euryale nodded, her eyes reflecting the dancing flames of their small fire. "A rare medical condition, perhaps? Something that affects my appearance and necessitates covering my eyes?" Marcus's face lit up with excitement. "Exactly. We can say you have a severe sensitivity to light, that exposure could be harmful. It's plausible and should deter any unwanted questions." With their plan in place, they began gathering the necessary items. Marcus procured a beautifully embroidered veil, its delicate designs shimmering in the light. He also gathered stylish yet practical clothing that concealed Euryale's unique features, adding accessories that added an air of mystery without drawing too much attention. The day of the local festival arrived, and the island was alive with vibrant energy. The air was filled with the tantalizing scents of various cuisines, the distant hum of lively music, and the excited chatter of people. Euryale, dressed in her carefully crafted attire, clung to Marcus's hand as they made their way through the bustling crowd. Her heart pounded with a mix of excitement and anxiety, but Marcus's reassuring presence was a steady anchor. The festival atmosphere was electric, a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds. Stalls lined the streets, filled with colorful crafts, delicious food, and lively performances. Children laughed as they chased each other through the crowd, their faces painted with smiles and the remnants of sweet treats. The air was thick with the mingling scents of spices, sweet pastries, and the salty tang of the sea. An elderly woman, her face etched with the lines of a life well lived, approached them with a warm smile. "Calimera," she greeted, her eyes twinkling. "Welcome to our festival. You must try my lucumades, they're made from a recipe passed down through generations." Marcus translated for Euryale, and they accepted the offer gratefully. The sweet, honey-drenched dough balls were a revelation, and Euryale's eyes lit up behind her veil at the new taste sensation. Euryale's initial anxiety began to fade as she immersed herself in the festivities. She marveled at the vibrant tapestry of life around her, her eyes sparkling behind the veil. Marcus guided her through the crowd, introducing her to various aspects of modern culture. They visited different stalls, tried local delicacies, and watched street performances that left them both laughing and clapping along with the crowd. In one particularly memorable moment, they found themselves drawn to a street musician playing a lively tune on his guitar. The melody was infectious, and before they knew it, Marcus and Euryale were dancing, their bodies moving in sync with the music. They shared knowing smiles, their connection deepening with each step, each laugh, each shared moment. As they moved through the festival, they encountered more locals eager to share their culture. A group of men invited them to join in a traditional dance, the bouzouki music filling the air with its distinctive sound. Marcus hesitated, but Euryale, emboldened by the festive atmosphere, nodded eagerly. They joined hands with the locals, forming a circle. The dance steps were simple, but the energy was infectious. Euryale, guided by Marcus and the friendly locals, found herself swept up in the rhythm. For a moment, she forgot her fears, lost in the joy of movement and community. A young girl approached Euryale, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Your veil is beautiful," she said in halting English. "Are you a princess?" Euryale knelt down, touched by the child's innocence. "No, not a princess," she replied softly, Marcus translating. "Just someone who sees the world a little differently." The girl nodded solemnly, then impulsively hugged Euryale before running back to her parents. The moment left Euryale with a bittersweet ache, a longing for a normalcy she could never fully have. As the day wore on, Marcus and Euryale found themselves drawn to a small gathering near the edge of the square. An elderly man, his face weathered by sun and sea, was recounting ancient myths to a rapt audience. They listened, spellbound, as he spoke of gods and monsters, heroes and villains. When he began the tale of Medusa, Euryale tensed. Marcus squeezed her hand reassuringly, but they both listened intently. The storyteller's version was different from what they knew, more nuanced, portraying Medusa as a victim of circumstance rather than a monster. You see, the old man concluded, his eyes scanning the crowd, our myths are not just stories. They are reflections of our humanity, our fears, our hopes. They teach us to look beyond appearances, to find the truth beneath. His gaze seemed to linger on Euryale for a moment, and she felt a shiver run down her spine. Did he know? Could he sense the truth behind her veil? But the moment passed, and the crowd began to disperse. As they walked away, Euryale leaned close to Marcus. Do you think, she whispered, that people could ever truly understand? Accept me for who I am. Marcus's heart ached at the vulnerability in her voice. Some would, he said softly. The ones who matter. And that's enough. But despite the success of their plan, a subtle tension remained. Euryale's fear of being discovered lingered, a constant shadow that threatened to dim her enjoyment. Marcus remained vigilant, his eyes constantly scanning the crowd for any sign of danger, any hint of recognition. As they made their way through the festival, the atmosphere shifted slightly. The music seemed to fade into the background, and the laughter of the crowd took on an almost menacing tone. Marcus's hand tightened around Euryale's, his senses on high alert. And then, he saw her. Dr. Elena Stavros, her eyes narrowed with suspicion, her gaze locked onto them. Marcus's heart pounded in his chest as he quickly realized they were being followed. He whispered urgently to Euryale, and they began to weave through the crowd, trying to lose Elena in the sea of faces. But Elena was relentless, her determination fueled by her curiosity and desire to uncover the truth. The chase intensified as Elena picked up her pace, her eyes never leaving Marcus and Euryale. They darted through narrow alleys, their footsteps echoing off the cobblestones, the festive atmosphere a stark contrast to their desperate escape. The scent of grilled meats and sweet pastries hung heavy in the air, mingling with the distant hum of laughter and music, creating a surreal backdrop to their high-stakes game of cat and mouse. Several times, Elena almost caught up to them, her hand reaching out, her breath hot on their necks. But Marcus's quick thinking and knowledge of the area allowed them to stay one step ahead. They dodged through bustling market areas, their bodies brushing against colorful fabrics and fragrant spices, the crowd a living, breathing obstacle course. In a final, desperate sprint, Marcus and Euryale found a hidden pathway that led them away from the main festival area. They dashed through the path, their hearts pounding, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. The path was narrow and overgrown, the scent of damp earth and verdant foliage filling their nostrils, the rustling of leaves a symphony of nature that seemed to urge them on. They finally found refuge in an abandoned building, their chests heaving, their bodies slick with sweat. The building was dilapidated, its walls crumbling and its windows shattered, but it offered a temporary sanctuary, a respite from the relentless pursuit. Marcus and Euryale leaned against the cool stone wall, their eyes locked onto each other, their breaths gradually slowing. The experience underscored the fragility of their situation, the ever-present danger of discovery. But it also reinforced their determination, their resolve to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together. We can't let her find us, Marcus said, his voice steady despite the turmoil within him. We have to be more careful, more strategic. Euryale nodded, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. Together, we can face anything. We've come this far, we won't let her take us down now. In that moment, amidst the rubble and the remnants of their desperate escape, they found a sense of solace, a sense of belonging, a sense of love that transcended the challenges they faced. They understood that their journey would be fraught with danger, that every step forward would bring new obstacles, new threats. But they also knew that their love was a beacon of light, a guiding force that would see them through the darkest of times. Their lovemaking was fierce, intense, a wildfire that burned hot and bright, consuming everything in its path. Marcus's body moved against Euryale's with a desperate urgency, his hips pressing into hers, their connection deepening with every thrust. The sound of their bodies coming together filled the abandoned building, a primal, raw symphony that echoed off the crumbling walls. Euryale's serpents moved with them, their cool scales sliding against his skin, their writhing bodies echoing the dance of their desire. Marcus could feel them, could sense their excitement, their need, their hunger. It was a sensation unlike any other, a symphony of touch and taste that left him breathless and overwhelmed. Their bodies were slick with sweat, their breaths coming in ragged gasps, their hearts pounding wildly in their chests. The danger they faced fueled their passion, making every touch, every kiss, every caress more intense, more desperate. They lost themselves in each other, their bodies moving in sync, their hearts beating as one, their souls intertwined. As they reached the peak of their pleasure, they cried out, their voices echoing through the abandoned building, a primal call that resonated with the raw, untamed nature of their love. Their bodies shuddered, their breaths coming in ragged gasps, their hearts pounding in their chests. Waves of pleasure coursed through them, leaving them breathless and fulfilled. In the aftermath, they clung to each other, their bodies still entwined, their hearts still racing. The abandoned building was filled with the soft sounds of their ragged breaths, the rustling of leaves, and the distant hum of the festival. Marcus looked at Euryale, her eyes reflecting the dappled sunlight filtering through the broken windows, her face flushed with pleasure. He leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to her lips, his hand gently stroking her cheek. "I love you, Euryale," he murmured, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and tenderness. "I love you more than anything in this world." She smiled, her eyes filled with a soft glow. "And I love you, Marcus. With every fiber of my being. With every beat of my heart." They shared whispered words of love and reassurance, their bond stronger than ever. The physical connection had solidified their emotional commitment to each other, a promise that transcended the challenges they faced. As they lay there, their bodies entwined, their hearts beating as one, they knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. Their love was a fortress, a sanctuary, a beacon of light that would guide them through the darkest of times. And in that moment, amidst the rubble and the remnants of their desperate escape, they found a sense of peace, a sense of belonging, a sense of love that would sustain them, no matter what storms lay ahead. Marcus's thoughts drifted to the day's events. The joy Euryale had experienced, the connections she had made, however briefly, with the locals. He realized that their love, while powerful, couldn't be the only thing in her life. "Euryale," he said softly, his fingers tracing patterns on her skin. "What you experienced today, the dance, the stories, the kindness of strangers, that's what I want for you. A life full of experiences, connections, joy." Euryale's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "But how?" she whispered. "How can I have that when I must always hide?" Marcus kissed her forehead gently. "We'll find a way," he promised. "Together, we'll create a life where you can be yourself, where you can experience the world without fear. It won't be easy, but nothing worth having ever is." Euryale nodded, her heart swelling with love and gratitude. She realized that their relationship was more than just passion and protection. It was a partnership, a shared dream of a better future. With renewed determination, they straightened their clothing, wiped the sweat from their brows, and prepared to face the world again. They knew that their safety, their freedom, their love depended on their ability to stay one step ahead, to outsmart their pursuers, to protect each other at all costs. And they were ready to face whatever lay ahead, ready to fight for their love, ready to live openly, no matter the challenges that awaited them. Hand in hand, they stepped out of the abandoned building, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The festival sound still drifted on the evening breeze, a reminder of the world they longed to be part of. With each step, they moved closer to their dream of living openly, no matter the challenges that awaited them.